good afternoon. Welcome to CEC lectures. So, we were talking about online buyers and what are the different types of behaviors that people elicit while they are indulging into online shopping activities or online buying activities. So, we had talked about the adventurous buyers. Now we talk about the shopping lovers. So this is another segment of people who enjoy buying things online and they do it frequently. So they are competent computer users, they are tech savvy, and they continue with their shopping habit, and they will again spread the word about what online shopping is, and they will want they will use this as an opportunity to spread the good things about online shopping. And these are the real target for retailers, because these are the people who are who can easily be converted into the loyal customers for a company, because they regularly spend money online on shopping activities, and also they are more tech friendly and they are more tech savvy people. Then the next type of users are business users. Basically these are most computer literate people and they are using the internet for business purposes. So they take serious interest in what they can do using the internet, using the online world for their professional development. So they don't view online shopping as something new, but and they aren't usually champions of the practice either. So they are looking at it from a business point of view. So they are not really your customers, but they are they can develop into prospective peers in the long run, because they will again be using the internet for their purpose. Then another type of people who are suspicious learners. So suspicious learners, again this is a small component, a small segment, and this has got a growth potential also, because these people they are reluctant to purchase online because they lack the computer training and they are not very open to new ways of doing things basically. So they are rather fearful of indulging in any kind of online shopping, and they don't have a problem giving computer the credit card number. So they don't want to share their information. So for these people it basically it's only a matter of guidance and training and confidence building which will help them, and you can bring them and you can get them into online buying behavior. So it's only that you have to address their fears, and then these people can be converted into online shoppers for your business. Then you have the fearful browsers. So basically they are on the cusp of buying online. They are capable internet and computer users, and they spend a good deal of time window shopping. Right, so they can be a significant buying group if their fears about credit card security, shipping charges, buying products sight unseen were overcome. So because they will think whether the product quality will be satisfactory or not, how will I return the product. So they have too many questions. So these questions, if the company or if the retailer is able to handle, then these people can definitely become our prospective buyers. They can be converted. Then you have the shopping avoiders. So this has they have an appealing income level and their values make them a poor target for online retailers. So they don't like to wait for products to be shipped to them, and they like seeing merchandise in person before buying. So these are sort of you can say that these are slightly older people who are accustomed to buying things physically by by touching and by seeing the product only they will buy. So they have issues with online shopping, and these are the hardest to be won over, because they have very rigid ideas about shopping, and they will they are not easily convinced about how things can be bought without really seeing them or touching them that way. So these are shopping avoiders who are generally not very easy to please when you are talking about online behavior, right? And then you have the technology muddlers. So this is the large computer literacy, they have these hurdles, and they spend less time than any other segment online, and they are really they are challenged with technology. You can say some people who do not like to use technology much, and therefore they are very little excited about increasing their online comfort level. So they are not an attractive market market for online retailers. So when when you are trying to create a market, so as we had discussed in the initial phase, in the planning phase also, that every company, when they are planning for their business, they have a target group. So exactly which group of customers, exactly which group of people are we targeting? Depending on that, we have to decide, we have to take many decisions about the online business development. So these are all intertwined and interrelated. Like another important set of users are the fun seekers. So these are people who are less educated, they have least wealth, they have less money, but they only use the internet for its entertainment value, and they are buying things, they generally don't buy things because they are frightened of it, and security and privacy can be overcome. So the spending power of this segment suggests that only a marginal long term payback would be possible. So these people, they are not a very exciting market for the retailer either, because their buying capacity is very limited, and they are using it more for fun and more for entertainment. So this is that kind of people. So basically these are the different types of people, or the different types of customers which are there, and the business owner or the retailer has to use his wit and his business sense to tap each category of users. Barring a few, most of the categories of people, they can be converted into loyal online customers. So with this part, we come to an end to the the phases of online business and the different people. Now we start with e-payment. So this is a very important component of any online business activity. So as we all know that businesses, they revolve around money. So when you are talking about brick and mortar businesses or the conventional businesses, definitely we are talking more about the tangible money, that is the currency or maybe the checks. But here we are talking about online payments. So because the business is online, so therefore all transactions have to happen only using the digital payment methods. So e-payments are, we can call these as e-money. Also we call this as digital money also. Sometimes it is called as web-based money also. There are different terms which have been given. So e-money has got very specific properties, which needs to be understood. So there are two sets of properties when you talk about e-money. The first set of property are the ACID property, that is the ACID, ACID property, and the next set is the ICES properties. So these are basically acronyms that we are talking about. So ACID stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. Now what are all these? Atomicity means that any transaction which is happening on an e-business site will happen, either it will be completed or it will not happen at all. So atomicity stands for all or none. Right. So that is that when a transaction fails, when a business transaction fails on an e-commerce site, then the previous state, the system rolls back to the previous stable state. So there is no transaction which is kept in the system midway. Either the transaction completes or the system goes back to a state before the transaction had started. So therefore this is another very important property, that whenever e-money transactions are happening, they are either completed or they are not started. If they have started and there is some problem, then the system will roll back into the previous state. Then the next is consistency. Consistency means that the effect of the transaction on both parties will remain the same. Right. Say for example, a customer wants to buy a product A and the businessman wants to sell a product B. So their demands are inconsistent. Or if the product is being offered for a certain price, but the buyer is not giving that particular price, then there is a mismatch between the seller and the buyer. So consistency means that there has to be a match, there has to be similarity between the business and the buyer. Then isolation means that all transactions which are happening with regard to e-money, they are individual, they are isolated of each other. That is, no two transactions are interrelated when you are talking about e-money. Every transaction is separate from every other transaction. Like for example, if a product is being bought and discount is being calculated on one product, whereas on the other product there is no discount. So, these two transactions will happen as isolated transaction, right? And durability means that whatever transactions are happening, their effect will be permanent in the database. The transactions will be, once a transaction has happened, its effect will remain. It cannot be nullified. So, the transactions are durable. Next set of properties are the ICES properties. So, ICES means that all e-money has to support interoperability. Interoperability means that whatever platform you are using, whatever hardware, whatever software, whatever payment platform you are using, they should be interoperable. Whatever currency you are using, it should be interoperable. Conservation means that the state of the transaction, the state of the e-money should be conserved. Economy stands for making the e-money transactions affordable. That is, any kind of transaction which involves digital payments, it should not have too much of overhead costs for the consumer or for the vendor. And scalability means that the e-money should support as smallest transaction also and large amounts of transaction also. So, it can be brought down to very small, very minimum amount of money which is being exchanged to a large sum of money which is being exchanged. So, e-money should support the properties of atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, interoperability, conservation, economy and scalability. Right. There are other properties also for e-money which one needs to understand. The most important property of e-money is security. That is, e-money should offer the user or the payer or the buyer security of data, security of information that he is sharing, and also most importantly, whatever the transaction is happening. So, there should be absolute privacy and anonymity which should be agreed. So, anonymity means that if a user wants that he should not be identified, then that feature should also be available with e-money. So, a person may or may not reveal the identity. Then the use of e-money should be easy, right? It should have an interactive interface so that constantly the buyer or the person who is making the payment is engaged and is informed about what is the progress in the process. If the process becomes too cumbersome, then people may not be very acceptable of making this kind of transactions. So, wide acceptability is only possible when the process is made simple and it is made user friendly. And integration is important because all types of e-money, we will talk about the different types of e-money options which are there. So, all types of e-money payments should be integrated into the system. So, the system should support different types of payments or different modes in which the payments can be made. So, therefore, e-money has got very specific and unique characters which are not comparable with the other forms like the physical or the tangible money that we are using. Right. So, if you talk about e-money, so transactions in case of e-money can happen in 4 ways. First is identified and online e-money. So, what is identified and online e-money? In which the payment or the transaction is happening online and the user's identity has been verified by the bank. For example, when you are making a payment through your credit card and debit card and online. So, in that case, the issuing bank will verify and will validate the identity of the user, and then the payment will be made online. If you talk about identified and offline payment, so identified and offline payment is something like a bank check, right? So, when a user is paying the money, is transferring the money through a check, right? In that case, the user is identified, the buyer is identified, but the transfer is not taking through internet, it is taking through an online mode. Another important way in which e-money works is anonymous and online. So if you talk about something like a metro card, or if you talk about something like an ATM card, so in that case the payments are made online, in that case the transaction is working online, but the user's identity is not being established. Any person can go to an ATM machine, if he knows the password and the the pin, they can easily withdraw the money. So anonymous payments, anonymous transactions can take place, and that too in online mode. Anonymous and offline means, say for instance, if a user is using the credit card and the credit card is not being verified that time by the by the vendor online, so that case is becoming an anonymous payment but offline, right. So the e-money can function in either of these fashions, and these are very very unique ways in which e-money can be transacted by the user. So there can be different methods of making e-payments, like credit card, debit card, smart card, net banking and e-wallet. So each of these methods, it has got its own unique characteristics, it has got its own merits and demerits. And generally when we are talking about e-payments, or when we are talking about e-money, so the portals or the e-businesses, they give you a choice of methods of payment in which the e-payment can be made. So first let's talk about credit card, because credit card is one of the most common ways in which transfer of money can take place. This was used even much before the online payments or the e-payment started, right. So it is got a plastic card which has got a chip, a microprocessor chip is inserted into the card, and it is issued to a person by specific bank. So it's very commonly used, it's very popular because of several reasons. It's very easy to use, it's low cost, because it's very easy to obtain a credit card if you have a good credit record, and the charges which the banks, the issuing bank, take for issuing the credit card, they charge annually some money which is very less. It's very convenient because it is used nowadays, it is acceptable at a large number of outlets, whether it's petrol pump or besides online shopping sites also, you can use this card at multiple places. And it is also a means of short financing, because if the person does not have money immediately, then also this can be used. So basically it works on a credit basis. So even if you don't have money, you can make the purchase and you are given some time, and within that time frame you have to return the money to the bank. And besides allowing the payments to be made, it also gives some additional benefits like cashback and some other perks, which discounts etc., which the user gets. Of course there are demerits also, because if you do not pay the money within the stipulated time which which has been given to you by the bank, which is your credit duration, the credit time limit, then the bank will charge very high interest rates, exorbitant interest rates are charged. Then overspending is also another problem, because you don't have to pay the money and you can spend even when you don't have the money. So therefore overspending can also happen, and there is always this risk of losing the card and somebody misusing your card. So these are some points which one has to keep in mind when credit card is being used, right. Now credit cards are basically very secure means of making e-payments, because they have an encryption protocol which is commonly known as the security and encryption protocol, called the SET protocol, right. So the SET protocol is actually a way through which the security of payments when they are made through credit card is ensured, and this protocol is being jointly managed by Visa and MasterCard, and it is it's implemented using by the companies like IBM, Microsoft, Netscape, RSA and VeriSign. So this is this is a conglomerate which works, and these protocols are ensured, which make sure that confidentiality of information is maintained using encryption. That is, when the data from the buyer is being sent to the the web server or to the vendor's website, then the data is sent in an encrypted format. Encrypted format means that the data will, or the text will be converted into some different format in some different characters. Therefore, even if somebody tries to eavesdrop while the data is being transferred on the network, it will not be possible, right. And it also ensures that the data is integrated. Integrated means that whatever data is being sent, it is reaching the server without any loss. The information or the data which is going is accurate and it is correct at all points of time. Authentication is also maintained by the security and encryption protocol by way of the providing the user ID and passwords, or sometimes they the many of the companies these days they provide two-way authentication. So, they will use a user ID password, along with that they will use the OTP. Then there is also interoperability which allows, that is, you can use the credit card which is issued by one bank into another bank. So, these are different aspects which the SET protocol covers and make sure that all credit card payments are completely secure, anonymized, and they are authenticated. So, neither the buyer nor the issuing bank nor the vendor they land up into any kind of troubles or any kind of problems. Next type of card which is commonly used is the debit card, which is also known as the ATM card. These days a very common card or very popular card which is being used is the RuPay card. RuPay card is also working like a debit card only, and this is being issued by the National Payment Corporation of India. So, this RuPay initiative is being taken by the National Payment Corporation of India. So, what are the key differences when we talk about debit and credit card? What are the key differences? So, the difference is that for credit card you do not have to have a bank account, an account with the bank which is issuing you the card, whereas for a debit card definitely you need to have a savings account or an account in the bank which is from which you want the debit card. The credit card it is issued by the bank when you request, so you have to apply for the card and you get it. For the debit card these days all banks, whenever you open an account you always get a debit card and ATM. There is no interest which is charged in case of debit card because you are always paying from your account only, but in case of credit card exorbitant interest rates can be charged. So, these are some differences which are there in debit and credit card payments, and it depends on the buyer's behavior, it depends on the buyer's capacity that which card the buyer is going to use. The next type of card is the smart card, which is basically a different kind of card, and it also has an embedded microprocessor chip in it. And besides using this card is not generally, it is not used for making payments, but rather it is also used for storing information because of the microprocessor chip which has got limited storage capacity, and the user's personal information or some confidential information about the card holder is stored on that particular card. Say for example we have the PAN card or the Aadhaar card, like the Metro card and even the Digi card which is used in set top boxes. So, all these are example of smart cards which have got the users. Many of the libraries they are issuing, many institutions are issuing this kind of smart card to their members or to the students or to the institutions, so that the information of the user can be stored on the card itself, right. So, smart cards can again be of two types. So, you can have contact smart cards and you can have contactless smart card. So, these days even the the debit card and the credit cards, they are available in the contactless form. So, contact cards means that you have to swipe the card or you have to dig the card in into a machine which is going to read the chip, which is going to read the data from the chip on the card. In contactless means you just have to show from a distance, you can show the card to the in front of the machine or in front of the card reader in front of the chip, and automatically through radio signal the data from the card can be read. So, these are two types of cards which are commonly being used. Contactless card is a rather new feature. So, many of the banks are still not using this feature, but a large number of banks, international banks are have adopted to contactless smart card strategy. Next is the e-wallet. So e-wallet is nothing, it's synonymous, it's like a virtual form of your physical wallet in which you can store money. So the money has to be transferred into your e-wallet from some other source, maybe from your net banking or maybe from your credit card or debit card. So there are three types of e-wallets which are commonly used. First is the closed e-wallet. So closed e-wallet means that it's like a particular company gives you the e-wallet and you can use the money in that e-wallet for purchase within that company only, right. So it is like internal e-wallet which you are creating, and transactions within that company only will take place using that e-wallet. Like for example, if you have an Amazon e-wallet, so you will only use it for purchase on Amazon, you cannot use it for purchase on any other, right. So the maximum limit which the e-wallet of the closed type has is 5,000. Now these limits and all are set by the Reserve Bank of India. So they set that how much money can be stored in a closed e-wallet. So that's about rupees 5,000. So this is a smaller e-wallet. Then you have the semi-closed e-wallet. So semi-closed e-wallet is basically which allows you to pay outside also, and it can have money up to 10,000 rupees. And then you have the open e-wallet. So open e-wallet will allow you to pay money outside, and there is it's not like issued by one particular organization. So it's an open e-wallet and you can scan the wallet and you can transfer the money. So what are the steps involved in creating an e-wallet? So definitely there are multiple e-wallet services, like you have PayU Money, and you have different kinds of Paytm and so many other e-wallet services which are very popular in India these days. So you need to have an account e-wallet service and you need to sign up with your user ID and registered mobile number, etc. You load the e-wallet with money, that is you transfer money into your e-wallet from your other account, maybe the bank account or through the card, and then you can just use this for making any kinds of online payment. So this is a very user friendly method, this is a very simple method, because nowadays with smartphones people can pay on the go using e-wallet. So it does not need any card, there is no minimum limit, you can pay as less as 10 rupees also, and it offers huge benefits to the customers, like you get cashbacks, you get discounts and other types of tokens which you get while you are using these e-wallet. So e-wallet is another very important segment in e-payments modalities, right. So next we will talk about net banking, but this we will be doing in the following lecture. So today we have basically talked about the marketing of e-businesses, we've talked about the fulfillment, and we've talked about the feedback. Besides this, we've also talked about the e-payments and the different methods different ways in which e-money can be used for making e-payments. So please keep watching CEC live lectures. Thank you so much.